Well, if you've got the basics of Gmail down now, maybe it's time to look at some advanced features. So I'm going to do a pretty quick pass through this. I figure if you've got the basics down, that you're probably pretty quick and can find these things without too much guidance from me. So we'll go through 10 of the kind of advanced features that I find real helpful in Gmail. Well, one feature that's just kind of convenient to keep you from flipping back and forth is to be able to create a calendar event from reading an email. So if I get a message that we're moving stuff on Monday, and I'd like to just quickly add that to my calendar, I just go to the More menu, and I go Create Event, and my Google Calendar comes up, and it already has the subject line in there, so I just have to add in some of the details, and then click Save, and boom, it's in my calendar. Another nice feature is if you've ever been involved in an email where there's a whole bunch of people in it, and they're all doing this reply to all, and you just keep getting bombarded with all these messages, and maybe you're just done with the conversation, you can do what we call muting. So we go up here again to the More menu, and you see Mute, and all that means is it's being sent directly to the archive, so you will not see it clutter up your inbox. Kind of nice. But sometimes the issue is a little worse than just a conversation that you don't want to be a part of, and somebody keeps bothering you in your inbox, so you actually want to block them from sending you anything more. And you can do that if you're reading a message. You go here to the reply arrow, and there's a drop down next to it. We can actually block this person, and it will tell you that it'll block, and then I'm not going to actually block, but let me show you how to undo that if you ever wanted to. You just go back to the gear, and in your settings, there's actually a section here for filters and blocked addresses. And you can go down there and undo or change how you're blocking some people. So that's a nice feature. Probably not going to be used too often, hopefully, here at the work address, because our Gmail is pretty good at filtering out the spam. Well, if you've ever clicked send on an email message and then suddenly realized, oops, that was either to the wrong person, or I wasn't finished yet, or something like that, you wish you had a little time to undo that send. Well, Gmail actually gives you a little bit of time to do that, but you can control how much time that is. So we're going to go up here to the gear. We're going to go to our settings, and in the General tab, it's actually one of the first things, undo send. I have mine set to 30 seconds, and you can go from 5 up to 30, and it doesn't really bother me all that much, and it just gives me that sort of either a cooling off period, or if I just made a mistake, a chance to graciously undo that before somebody gets a message that they weren't expecting. Nice little feature there. Well, the next really nice feature about Gmail is Conversation View, and I'm pretty sure everybody defaults to this, but if you're not in Conversation View, I think you probably are going to want to be. I actually took myself out of it for a moment just so you could see. This is a starred message. I actually sent this to somebody who works with a textbook we use in our classroom, and it was a message I sent to him on Friday. He actually had 2 replies to me, and then I had 1 reply to him. And right now they're all broken out into individual messages. But if we do Conversation View, and we do that from the gear and the settings, and in the General tab, it's just one of the options right down here, Conversation View on. Then I'm going to have to go to the bottom to save it. Anytime you do anything in the General tab, you want to save it. Now, here's this same conversation, and it shows the number 4 next to it. That means there are 4 different emails, and we can kind of see them there. So here's mine, and then here's his reply. Here's another reply, and then here's my reply back. So it really helps you track all the conversations that you have, and a great way to look at your emails. Well, if you're going to be away for an extended period of time and you're expecting people will still email you in your work address, because it happens even over our breaks, but maybe you're going to be somewhere and you just don't want to be dealing with any emails, you can send a reply. And we're going to go to the settings, and again the General tab, and down here, Vacation Responder is what they call it. Now I have mine off, but if you want to turn it on, this just automatically sends a reply back to somebody, and you can put whatever message you want in there, basically like, hey, I'm not going to reply to this right away. I did get your email, but it might be a while before I reply, so don't worry. Or maybe if there's somebody that they need to contact instead of you, you've probably gotten these kinds of replies before if you've emailed somebody. So it's really convenient that Gmail has that set up. You just find it in the General tab right in your settings in the gear. Now this next feature might not be something that we can do on our school account because we're a special managed account, and I'd have to check with an administrator about this. But if you look under accounts in your settings, you have the ability to grant access to somebody. And in my mind, it actually seems convenient maybe if you have a long-term sub to be able to just give them access to your email account, because maybe all the parents that would be emailing you things and principals, and it'd be really hard to just forward everything to your long-term sub. So you do have to worry about personal emails and things like that perhaps, but I think it might be a nice option if you can separate your personal email from your school email to grant somebody access. So that's something you could look into if the time comes that you would need it. Well, I actually changed my email front page just a moment, just so you could see the difference here. You see how I have a lot of labels, and when I hover over the labels, it does expand, but right now I've got my chat box over here. This is how I can do quick chats without sending messages and waiting for replies. If I know somebody is using their email, I can just chat back and forth with them. Haven't gone through that with you, but it's a little crowded over here on the left, but it does leave a lot of room over here on the right. I can see my messages and some of the what they call the snippets of the messages. But what I like is to move my chat box over here to the right. And so there's some clever little things in your settings. If you go to the what's called the labs, and it's kind of fun to read this. This is very experimental, but I've never had any problems with any of the labs that I've run. So I think this is just individuals who are like, hey, wouldn't it be neat if Gmail could do this? So there's something called canned responses. I've never really used it. I do have this, the unread message icon, and I'm going to go down here to the one that says right side chat, and it says by Emily C. I have no idea who that is, but if we enable that and then we go down here and save the changes, it's going to reload, and you'll see the new inbox now has a lot more visible labels, and all my chat is also over here on the right. It's a lot longer. I've got more names. I don't do a lot of chatting, but it is nice to have them there. So that's just something you could do. Totally your option, of course. It just depends on your preference. Well, if you have time to kill someday, you might try out some of the other add-ons and labs that are options in Gmail. So if you go here, you can either, under the gear, get some add-ons, or you can do this within settings as well. So if you go over here to the add-ons tab, and you click Get Add-ons, there's this whole huge list. And these are actually more like commercial things. They're free. I'm pretty sure they're all free. And you can look for some that might be interesting. I've never found any that I've really needed. And then the labs, like one we saw before, they call it crazy experimental stuff. I don't know that I would consider it crazy, but you might see something in there that looks kind of interesting, and you might try it out. You can always just disable it if you don't like it. It's not going to break your Gmail or anything like that. So maybe give some of those a try. Now the last one I want to show you is actually not something in Mail, but there's a connected app, if you will, and that's all your contacts. Like all your school contacts will be in here as well. But what I've done is I've created, because I'm a department chair, I've created some groups. And they're just like mailing lists. So if I want to email all the chemistry teachers, I can just type as the email address, I just type chemistry teachers or chem teachers, and it automatically puts those 5 teachers in there. So if you want to make some groups, you just click New Group, and then you type a name for it, and then as soon as you, I'll just do demo here, then as soon as you do that, you can start clicking who you want to be as part of that group. All right, and so you can, right here is where you start selecting some names, and there's more options here for what you want to do with that. So a great feature if you do send a lot of emails to large groups of people and you just get tired of typing in all the individual addresses every time. So Gmail's made that a whole lot easier. So there you go. In less than 10 minutes, I was able to show you 10 kind of cool features that you might not have thought that Gmail could do. So if you got a little time, give those a shot sometime and see if they don't make your life a little bit easier. Thanks for watching.